What is the Karaite hope? What is it that you look forward to? So in Christianity, we have, obviously, as you have heard, the second coming, the parousia of Christ, the establishment of the kingdom of God on earth. Now, there are some divergent views in Christianity, as you might be aware. So some believe that the church will be tribulated, they'll be in heaven. Some even believe we'll just stay there. But at Restoration Fellowship promote, obviously, the fact that one day the kingdom of God, which is the kingdom of David, will be established on earth through his seed, through his descendant, the Messiah. Obviously, you don't believe Jesus is the Messiah, just to make it clear to our audience.
Well, he might be the Messiah, but my understanding of Messiah, we have the word in the Tanakh, Mashiach, which means anointed one. And that's translated as Christos in Greek, obviously. And you mentioned yourself how Christ is not his last name, Joseph and Mary Christ. No, Christos is simply the translation of Mashiach. But who is this anointed priest? That's what we, in common parlance, refer to as the high priest. So we have an anointed priest, and we have an anointed king. So usually when Jews are speaking about the Messiah, they mean the anointed king. There's actually this other role as well, which I think in the New Testament is taken up in Hebrews. That's this whole parable of why Jesus is supposed to be both the high priest and the king. There's the two anointed roles. So what we look forward to as a Karaite Jew, as I think this is different than other Jews, we look forward to the restoration of the Davidic kingdom, where there will be a descendant of David who will sit on the throne of David, and he will bring peace to the world. And that could be Jesus. But I think you'll agree right now, in the midst of COVID-19, that those prophecies hadn't been fulfilled. Can we just read one of these prophecies? Isaiah 11, since you brought it up. Isaiah 11, a lot of times when Jews and Christians will have discussions, they'll disagree about which are the messianic prophecies. Isaiah 11, I think everyone agrees is a messianic prophecy. But a shoot shall grow out of the stump of Jesse, a twig shall sprout from his stock. Jesse is the father of David, obviously. So this is a Davidic descendant. The Spirit of the Lord, and their lords in all caps. I would say Yehovah here. Some will say Yahweh. The Spirit of Yehovah shall light upon him. A spirit of wisdom and insight, a spirit of counsel and valor, a spirit of devotion and reverence for Yehovah. He shall sense the truth by his reverence for Yehovah. He shall not judge by what his eyes behold, nor decide by what his ears perceive. Thus he shall judge the poor with equity. Oh, and I hate that word equity, but it says righteousness in Hebrew. And decide with justice for the lowly of the land. He shall strike down a land with the rod of his mouth, and slay the wicked with the breath of his lips. Justice shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his waist. And then we have this probably symbolic language. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb. Everybody thinks it's the lion shall dwell with the lamb, but in the Hebrew, I think most Jews know it's Gauza Even Keves. It's a very common phrase we hear. The leopard lie down with the kid, the calf, the beast, the prey, and the fat lamb together, with a little boy to herd them. The cow and the bear shall graze. And again, is this literal, metaphorical? I think it's probably literal. In all of my sacred mountain, nothing evil or vile shall be done, for the land shall be filled with devotion to Yehovah as water covers the sea. Now that obviously hasn't happened yet. In that day, the stock of Jesse that has remained standing shall become a standard to peoples. Nations shall seek his counsel, and his bones shall be honored. So it's describing this flesh and blood Messiah who has the spirit of Yehovah dwelling upon him, resting upon him, and it's through that spirit of Yehovah that he is able to judge in a way that's not human. It's beyond normal human wisdom, and he will bring peace to the entire world. Will that figure in the future who does this be Jesus? I don't know. He hasn't come. He hasn't done this yet. And I think we both agree whether the Messiah, that the Messiah hasn't done this yet. So there's an old Jewish adage, joke, whatever it is, that when the Messiah comes, the Jews will say, our Lord, my Lord, is this your first time with us or your second?
I think you used the word, anyway, I heard superhuman. This character, this person you're describing is superhuman.
Wisdom.
Right, superhuman, but nonetheless human.
Absolutely.
So you're obviously you're not a messianic, you're not Trinitarian, you don't believe Jesus was Jehovah, God in the flesh.
I would like to phrase it a little bit differently.
Okay.
That Jews in general are not looking for a Messiah who is God. There's a movement within Judaism called Chabad, also known as Lubavitch. They're not a very large, well, they're a pretty large movement. There's like 100,000 of them, but their impact on the Jewish world is far disproportionate to their numbers because they're what Christians would call evangelical.
Mm.
They're a movement that goes back to the 1700s or so. They believe that their rabbi was the seventh in the line of rabbis. He died in 1994. They look to him as the Messiah. Chabad Jews or Lubavitch Jews. You walk around Israel, you see his photo everywhere. In fact, the entrance of Tel Aviv on Kvish Geha on the main highway, there's a big two or three story, it's on the side of a building, tall poster of this rabbi, and it says in Hebrew Mashiach, in English Messiah, in Arabic Masih, but presumably it says Messiah in Russian as well. So they believe he's the Messiah. They don't believe he's God, Chabad Jews, Lubavitch Jews. However, they do believe that the Spirit of God dwelt within their rabbi in a unique way that the Spirit of God didn't dwell in any other human being before or since. But it wouldn't occur to any of them that he is the creator of the universe.